We all want strong, healthy shoulders, right? It's a universal goal. But man, can it be confusing? You take an exercise like the face pull, which everyone recommends, and it seems like there are a million different opinions on how to do it. So how do you know if you're actually building stronger shoulders or maybe just spinning your wheels?
And this isn't just some hypothetical question. This is a real post from someone out there just trying to do the right thing for their body. It's a question thousands of us have, that nagging worry that the very exercise we're doing for shoulder health might not be hitting the mark.
So, our mission today is to cut through all that noise. We're going to find a clear, evidence-based answer to the super common question. We're going to look past the opinions and really dig into the anatomy and the hard data on muscle activation.
To do that, we have to go beyond just what feels right. We need to get scientific and actually measure what our muscles are doing during the movement. And lucky for us, a group of researchers did exactly that.
A study published in MDPI used this really cool tech called electromyography, EMG for short. Basically, it's like putting little sensors on your muscles to see how much they're actually firing up. Now, they didn't test the standing face pull itself, but they looked at a very similar movement, prone shoulder horizontal abduction, which zeroes in on the exact same key muscles. This let them see how tiny tweaks in form could totally change which muscles did all the work.
So here's what the researchers did. First, they had people perform the movement naturally. Just their usual way. For the second condition, though, they gave them one specific mental cue, to actively focus on tilting their shoulder blades back and down.
And then they introduced a classic mistake into the experiment. While keeping that same focus on the shoulder blades, they also had people arch their lower back. You've seen this a million times in the gym. It's what happens when people try to cheat the weight or just lose their form. So what did the data actually show?
Okay, this is where it gets really good. We're not guessing anymore. We're looking at cold, hard numbers that tell us exactly which muscles are working and by how much.
All right, let's break this table down. Zero in on the row for the lower trapezius, the LT. That is the muscle we want to strengthen here. In condition 1, just moving naturally, it's firing at about 66% of its max. But look what happens in condition 2. With that one simple mental cue, it jumps all the way up to 76%. Now look at the upper trapezius, the UT. That's the muscle that's usually overactive. It stays nice and low in the first two conditions, but in condition 3, the moment the back arches, it spikes to over 36%.
And if you're a visual person, this chart makes that first point crystal clear. Look at that jump in lower trap activation. It's the biggest takeaway from this whole study. Just by thinking about the movement correctly, pulling the shoulder blades back and down, people got way more out of the target muscle. No extra weight, no extra reps, just pure focus.
Let's put a big number on it. That's a 16% increase in activation, a 16% boost in hitting the exact muscle you're trying to strengthen. That is a massive difference, and it comes entirely from the quality of the movement, not the quantity.
Now, for the other side of the coin, which is just as important, take a look at the upper traps. With good intentional form, they stay quiet, down around 28%. But the second that back arches, that super common mistake, their activation jumps by almost 30%. That compensation pattern brings that overactive, tense muscle right back into the driver's seat, which is exactly what we're trying to avoid.
So the data makes it totally undeniable. Mindful focus on your shoulder blades? That helps you target the right muscles. Arching your back to cheat the weight? You're basically sabotaging the entire point of the exercise.
Okay, so now we know what to do based on the science. But why? Why is it so critical to activate this specific muscle over the others? Well, it all comes down to a core principle of how our bodies are designed to move.
It's this idea that you need a stable base to have mobile limbs. Think about it like this. You can't fire a cannon from a canoe, right? Your body's the same. Your torso and shoulder blades are that cannon platform. If the platform is shaky, every single movement your arm makes is going to be weaker and less stable. Strengthening those lower traps is how we build that solid foundation.
And here's the thing. So many of us, whether we sit at a desk all day or lift heavy weights, we develop this classic imbalance. Our upper traps get tight, they get overworked, and they just want to take over everything. Meanwhile, our lower traps get weak and honestly kind of lazy. This pattern is a direct path to pain, bad posture, and shoulders that just don't work right. The whole point of an exercise like a face pull is to actively fight and reverse this.
Now, the really great news here is you don't need a fancy cable machine to put this science into practice. You can build that exact same shoulder stability right at home with very little equipment, as long as you keep that same mental focus.
For instance,
You can anchor a resistance band and do your face pulls that way. Or you can grab a couple of dumbbells for reverse flies. And with absolutely no equipment at all, you can do prone Y raises right there on your floor. All of these are fantastic for firing up those stabilizer muscles. Just remember, for every single one of them, the key is control and intention. And that brings us to what is easily the single most important lesson from all of this data and analysis. It's a concept that applies not just to this one shoulder exercise, but to every single thing you do in your workouts.
It all comes down to this. How you think about a movement can be just as important, if not more important, than the movement itself. Are you just mindlessly slinging a weight from point A to point B? Or are you consciously contracting the specific muscle that's supposed to be doing the work? As that data clearly showed us, that distinction makes all the difference in the world.
So I'll just leave you with this one simple but really powerful question. Think about your last workout. Which movements were you truly present and focused on? And which ones were you just going through the motions on autopilot? The answer to that question could be the key to unlocking way better results and much better long-term health.